They think you're lazy. They say you're unfocused, that you can't hold down a normal job. But what if I told you, you were never meant to? What if everything they criticize about you, your restlessness, your refusal to conform, your hunger for something more, is actually evidence that you're chosen? Let's make this clear right from the start. Chosen ones are not lazy. They are wired differently. Your spirit does not align with a 9-to-5 matrix because your mission is spiritual, not mechanical. You weren't sent here to blend in. You were sent here to awaken, to build, to disrupt. And normal jobs, routines, and roles, they feel like cages to you because your soul was designed to soar. From a young age, you felt it, that discomfort. Sitting in classrooms, staring at the clock, wondering why it all felt so off. Later, you tried working regular jobs, following the rules, climbing the ladders. But every time, something inside you rejected it. Not because you were entitled, not because you were lazy, but because your spirit knew, this is not it. That discomfort, that frustration, that constant burnout, it's not weakness, it's awakening. Your soul rebels against systems that numb creativity, suppress purpose, and glorify survival over truth. You weren't built to just wake up, clock in, follow orders, and repeat. That's not laziness. That's your inner truth refusing to be buried. You see, normal jobs are designed for the masses, for the ones who are still asleep, for people whose purpose isn't pushing against the grain. But you were set apart. You're here to challenge the way things are. You carry codes that disrupt comfort zones. That's why mediocrity makes you nauseous. That's why your body reacts with anxiety or fatigue when you're stuck in a routine that lacks depth or meaning. You've probably noticed, when you try to force yourself into a traditional structure, everything falls apart. Your energy drops. Your motivation dies. You feel drained, suffocated, disconnected. That's because when the chosen one operates outside their divine alignment, everything becomes heavy. You weren't built to labor for survival. You were built to create from vision. Your ideas are revolutionary. Your intuition is sharp. Your creativity is divine. And normal jobs often don't make space for that. They ask for obedience, not innovation. They want silence, not vision. They reward compliance, not calling. But your calling doesn't ask for permission. It refuses to sit in cubicles, punch time cards, or smile through mediocrity. It wants to build something eternal, not just chase a paycheck. Now listen closely. There is nothing wrong with honest work. There is dignity in every job, from janitor to CEO. But for the chosen ones, it's not what you do that hurts. It's why you're doing it. If the work you're in isn't connected to your soul, your spirit will protest. If the job is draining your light instead of igniting it, your inner self will shut down. And yet you've probably been shamed for this, told you were unrealistic, called lazy, accused of being irresponsible. People around you just don't get it, because they've been conditioned to survive, not to awaken. But you're not here for comfort. You're here for truth. You can't ignore your purpose. Even if you try, it will haunt you. And here's where it gets deeper. Your inability to do normal jobs is a sign of activation. It means your soul is waking up. Your gifts are trying to surface. Your mission is starting to stir. That's why you can't tolerate fake environments anymore. That's why your body literally starts rejecting energy that's not aligned with your assignment. You were made for impact, not just income. You crave freedom, but not because you want to run away from responsibility. It's because you want to run toward meaning. You desire flexibility, not out of laziness, but because your soul needs space to download divine instruction. You need solitude to hear God clearly. You need room to create from spirit, not just labor for survival. Think about this. How many jobs have you walked away from? Not because you couldn't do them, but because something inside you screamed, "This is not who I am." That voice, that resistance, that pull away from the ordinary, That's your anointing. That's the divine part of you refusing to waste time on anything that isn't sacred. But don't misunderstand. The chosen ones are not afraid of work. In fact, when they're in their purpose, they work harder than anyone. They don't count hours. They pour their soul. They don't clock in. They create movements. And when they build, what they build lasts. Because it's coming from a place of alignment, not obligation. The world has tried to convince you that the only way to succeed is to follow the system. Get a degree. Work 40 hours. Collect your paycheck. Retire. And die. But your spirit knows. There's more. You feel it in your gut. There's something bigger calling you. Something louder than fear. Something stronger than comfort. Something divine. And until you say yes to that calling, nothing will ever feel right. No job, no salary, no routine. Because your soul is not asking for security. It's asking for destiny. It's not that you don't want to work. It's that your soul refuses to be enslaved. The system is designed to keep most people asleep, numbing them with routine, distracting them with survival. But the chosen ones, we don't get peace until we're living in purpose. That's why you feel so unsettled in ordinary environments. Your gifts are too big to be boxed in. You're the kind of person who needs meaning behind everything you do. If your spirit doesn't feel connected to the outcome, your energy drops. You can't fake passion. You can't pretend a paycheck is worth your peace. You weren't built for that kind of life. And the more you try to force yourself into it, the more your soul will rebel. And this rebellion isn't chaos. It's alignment. It's your higher self saying, we came here to do more than this. You're not lazy. You're activated. You see through the illusion. You know that the rat race, the clock punching, the endless meetings, it's a cycle that never leads to freedom. And you, chosen one, were born to break cycles. But of course, that makes you stand out. People don't understand you. They call you unmotivated. They tell you to be realistic. They try to fit you back into the mold. But every time they do, it hurts more. Because your soul has outgrown the illusion. And now, the only thing that feels right is freedom, purpose, calling. And here's the raw truth. Your calling will never feel comfortable. It will stretch you. It will scare you. It will require you to walk away from the safe and the familiar. But once you do, once you step into what you were born for, you'll realize you were never lazy. You were waiting for the right assignment. And when that assignment comes, when you align with your mission, everything changes. You suddenly have energy. You can work 16 hours straight, not because you're forced to, but because your soul is finally on fire. You create, you build, you lead, you transform. Because now, you're operating from truth, not survival. The people who once mocked you, they'll be the first to say, I always knew you were different. But you'll remember the nights you cried because you felt out of place in every room. The mornings you woke up dreading another meaningless shift. The pressure to conform. The guilt for not being normal. And you'll smile, not out of pride, but from peace. Because you'll know now, you were never supposed to be normal. You're here to be a light in the dark, to create something divine, to speak what others are too afraid to say, to break free from tradition and build something eternal. And yes, that path requires sacrifice. You may walk alone for a while. You may struggle financially at first. You may doubt yourself in the beginning. But once you align with purpose, favor follows. Divine provision begins to flow. Doors open where there were once only walls. Connections show up out of nowhere. Resources arrive unexpectedly. Because when you walk in your assignment, the universe moves with you. God doesn't just call, He covers. And maybe right now, you're still in that middle space, stuck between knowing you're not made for the 9-to-5, but unsure how to step fully into your purpose. Let me tell you this, that in-between space is sacred. It's where your character is shaped, where your faith is tested, where your vision gets clearer. Don't rush it. Use this time to go within. to reconnect with your inner voice, to rediscover what sets your soul on fire. What would you do if money didn't matter? What would you create if no one was watching? What would you chase if fear didn't exist? That is your true work. You're not broken, you're becoming. You're not confused, you're awakening. And your discomfort right now, it's not failure. It's a divine indicator that you're being redirected towards something greater. The jobs you couldn't hold down, they weren't your path. They were just reminders of what you're not here to do. And yes, the path of the chosen one is lonely sometimes. You'll be misunderstood, judged, even laughed at. But every moment you stay true to your calling, you reclaim a piece of your divine self. And one day, you'll look back and realize every job you lost, every door that closed, every time you were labeled lazy, it was all a part of the refining. Because when your soul finally finds its mission, you don't work, you serve. You don't hustle, you flow. You don't survive, you create. And you create from spirit. So no, you're not lazy. You're chosen. You're called. You're built for something this world can't define. Never let anyone shame you for outgrowing the system. You weren't born for a position. You were born for a purpose. And that purpose, it's waking up now.